Swedish with Joanna. A podcast for beginners. Hej allihopa och välkomna tillbaka till podden. Jag hoppas att ni mår bra idag. In today's episode we're going to talk about something that often confuses beginners in Swedish. Family words, and more specifically the word uncle. This episode idea actually came from a TikTok I saw the other day where a beginner learning Swedish was really confused by how Swedish family words work. And I immediately thought this is a perfect topic for a podcast episode. So, in the English language, we have one word for uncle, and that's just straight up uncle, right? That word can mean your mother's brother or your father's brother, right? And in English, that's completely normal. But in Swedish, we don't do it that way. In Swedish, we have two different words. And those words are morbror, morbror, and I will repeat one last time, morbror. And the second one is farbror, farbror. And one last time, farbror. And this is where many beginners think, why is Swedish making this so complicated? But guys, it actually isn't that complicated as it might sound. So let me clear some things up for you. If we listen to the both words morbror and farbror, notice how both of the words ends with the word bror in them. That's because the word bror means brother. So morbror starts with the word mor in it. That's because the word mor means mother. So the word morbror means mother's brother. And as you could guess, farbror means father's brother because the word far means father. What's interesting is that in the TikTok comments, many Swedes were confused in the opposite direction, right? They were asking, how do English speakers know which uncle is which if you only have one word for it? And honestly, both reactions make sense. But here's the most important thing to understand, guys. Swedish language builds meaning inside the word itself. Instead of using one general word and relying on context, Swedish often combines smaller words into one very specific word. Once you understand that, these family words start to make sense. Let's start with two important Swedish words to understand this concept. I've already mentioned them, but repetition is key. So let's start with the word for mother, which is mor in Swedish. Mor. Mor. And the word for father is far. Far. These are neutral, slightly formal words. Children usually say mamma and pappa. But when we talk about family relationships in Swedish, we use mor and far. Now, when you know that, let's look at the grandparents. If I'm not mistaken, the English language also only have one word when it comes to your grandmother and your grandfather. And here, in the Swedish language, we also have two words for it. So if we take a look at the grandparents system in Swedish, let's start with mormor. 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 And as you learned earlier, the word for mother is mor. Then you could guess what mormor means. Mormor means mother's mother, straight translated. Then we have morfar. 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 And here, if you listen to the word, it starts with the word for mother, mor, and ends with father, far. Morfar, which means mother's father. And then we have farmor, farmor, farmor. And here the word starts with the word for father and ends with the word for mother. Farmor, farmor. And it means father's mother, farmor. And lastly, we have the word farfar, 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 which, as you could guess, it means father's father. Because if you listen, it starts with the word for father and ends with the word for father. So Swedish tells you exactly which side of the family right inside the word. Now, when you understand that, let's look at the word for uncle in Swedish. We have morbror and farbror. The word morbror means mother's brother, because the word starts with the word for mother and ends with the word for brother. Morbror, mother's brother. And then we have farbror, which, as you could guess, means father's brother, because the word starts with the word for father, far, and ends with the word for brother, bror, farbror. So mor means mother, far means father, and bror means brother. That's the entire logic. Let's look at a couple of examples here. Min morbror bor i Stockholm. This means my uncle, my mother's brother, lives in Stockholm. Another example. Min farbror är läkare. This means my uncle, my father's brother, is a doctor. So, quick recap. Swedish family words are often compound words. Mor and far tells us which parent. Swedish prefers clarity inside the word. English, I think, prefers flexibility and more context, but I might be incorrect, and you are welcome to correcting me in the comments. If this felt confusing at first, that's completely normal, guys. You're not bad at languages, you're just learning a different system. And with that said, it's time to wrap up today's episode. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you enjoy my work and want to support the podcast, you can always become a member on Patreon. On Patreon, you'll get access to all transcripts and vocabulary lists for each episode. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode!